Welcome to the Pipeline award-winning show. As always, I am your host, Jason Gibbs. You can find me on X at Pipeline_. You can find me coming through your speakers right now. Huge week on tap for college football. Let me bring in my main guy, Roy. Roy, week 5, big games, really all throughout the day. And I don't know if we're going to even move off our couch in the first 15 hours.
Yeah, I mean, not to shout out any other sports. You got Ryder Cup at 7 a.m. You got the college game day, obviously, every week. I mean, there's 17 hours of solid. You finish to cap it off with the Mormons at Colorado. I mean, you've got just action-packed stuff from start to finish. So it's going to be a good weekend. This is the weekend for the casual college football fan.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay. We got Mormons and then the smell of weed from the stands per head coach Deion Sanders. It'll be interesting.
Yeah.
But let's kick things off. We'll say, how about Friday night? I know a game near and dear to your heart. Florida State at Virginia. Very interesting. Number 8, Florida State, unranked Virginia. Line has been steamed down past the numbers. Now Noles -6.5. Of course, we all remember that at Virginia is where the Seminoles first lost their first ever ACC game, stopped a streak of 29 straight. But surprisingly, 2 high-scoring offenses here.
Yeah.
Going to be a very interesting game. We're going to see if the Noles can survive.
Interesting timing on this game. You've got, Noles' first road test, only a 6.5-point favorite now. 60.5 is the total. So that, like you said, they are expecting a high-scoring game. This is kind of it's weird to say this, but you had this like emotional high off the Alabama game in the opener at home. Everybody's feeling good about themselves. You've had a couple cupcakes. You followed it up with strong performances there, but again, in like safe zones and safe spaces. And now you're headed to a Friday night. You got all eyes on you. Hostile territory. Again, a pretty decent Virginia team. Tommy Castellanos has the history of just laying one of those eggs in a game. So can he keep it rolling? The Gus Bus, the running offense for the Noles have been just incredible. It's opened up the big passing plays that have been missing since, Jordan Travis was there. We basically took a year off with DJ. I'll throw the ball past 5 yards. So the running has been there for FSU. Virginia, this is a big statement game for them. Their whole season can get vaulted into a much more exciting arena if they can pull this upset off. So good way to start the weekend for sure.
Yeah, so it's the Noles' first conference game of the year, so that's going to be interesting too, you said. And now we have a little bit more tape of Tommy Castellanos plus Gus Malzahn.
Yeah.
How's that going to play out? At first, the first game of the year, maybe Alabama took them lightly. Maybe they didn't have the tape on them as far as in the Florida State system. Now they do. Will be interesting to see where things go from here.
It's gonna be a track meet, I believe. I think you're gonna get some big points.
I'm going under here.
Okay,
you know me. I'm the classic contrarian bettor. I'm going under. The game has been steamed up, and I actually like here go with the fade. Friday night fade under 60.5 points. But how about Saturday? We had an unbelievably disappointing performance if you're an Illini fan. We said it on the pod last week. Please follow if you're not, because you'll get these bits of intrigue and insight. We said, if you know anything about betting, Indiana was the play. The line has started out already somewhat suspiciously higher than you may have projected based on rankings, quote unquote. And it got steamed. All money poured in on Illinois, and the line kept getting steamed up. Classic reverse line movement. I didn't think it would be 1 trillion to 5 or whatever the final score was. That was a little surprising. But here we have USC going into Memorial Stadium in Champaign, of course. And the Trojans a 6.5 point favorite. Geez, I guess the Vegas guys, the wise guys, don't respect Illinois at all. I'm surprised. I could see the Trojans being favored, but by just shade less than a touchdown, that was a little surprising. So, do you think the Fighting Bielema's get it done, pull the quote unquote upset, or is Lincoln Riley and the Trojans ready to kind of vault to the next level?
It's an amazing thing, college football, right? You're last week it was a you're the you're in the top 10, you're playing Indiana, kind of a trap game, of course, as the line kind of suggested it could, or they were so bad that now Indiana does not have a quality win. So they've hit Illinois so badly. And so to me, this is a trap by Vegas setting, saying basically Illinois is not as good as they
Mm,
predicted, putting more emphasis on the trap on USC side. Tickets are as low as $25 for in Champaign, but that crowd could get raucous
mm,
behind Brett Bielema. I think this is when you got to take the home team in a response game. I know a lot of people, ourselves included, were pretty surprised. Not surprised at the outcome, but how fast that outcome
right.
presented itself on Saturday. Um, so I think you go with Illinois here. I mean, I like USC. The travel over the last few seasons has started to kind of wear on them in the middle of the year and the start of the year. I mean, they're jumping around quite a bit. So, if only there was a conference where they had 11 people near them and they could, you
If
know,
only. I
not
saw
travel. So,
Yeah, I saw Lincoln Riley complain about that this week, and it was the classic hot dog meme. We're trying to find the guy who did this. And to your point, a noon start. It's going to be 9 a.m. Trojan
yeah.
time. What's the response like? Maybe we take a quick peek at the total 60.5. Maybe USC gets off a little slow, and we can kind of ride that. Maybe you hedge at halftime. Master hedger over there. I'm with you though. I think if Illinois doesn't cover that, they're gone. They're dead.
They're done. They're done. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and remember, if you follow us on Twitter at Pipeline_, we this week came up with our top 25 map, most accurate poll, the most accurate poll in the country. We took tons of accounts, actually 15, maybe not tons, but of the best ball knowers in the country, and we put an aggregate poll together. Interestingly enough, Illinois is not featured in that poll, so we already discarded them. I think everyone really in the poll already had them a little shade lower than the top 10 to start the week anyway. And when we put the aggregate together, they're out. Win here, and they'd probably hop back in, but it's going to be a test. Illinois already 0-1 in the Big Ten. 0-2 would be a really tough sledding to get out of there.
Yeah, and go from top 10 to basically unranked in
Outhouse, yep.
2 weeks is a tough pill to swallow. So if they don't show up, then it's just kind of another, I won't say lost season, because there's still a lot of opportunities. You look at a team
Yeah.
like Old Miss last year. Up until the second to last week of the season, they were pretty much there in the playoffs, but they had a rocky start, losing to Kentucky early on. So college football can have an interesting twist towards that second half of the year, of course. Like in Miami, right? Last year started out very strong, ended
Right.
with a
Dud.
dud. So the world is always, I won't say it's over, but it's a much tougher challenge. Granted, the Big Ten does offer a lot of opportunities for you to show up, but you don't want to turn into Florida, right? So your
That's
season's pretty
true.
much toast because of just the opponents will increasingly get tougher for Illinois moving forward. So they got to nail this one down. And for USC, you can keep it rolling. You can go and start 5-0, 3-0 in the Big Ten already
Yeah.
potentially.
Huge.
That's big step forward for them. So be interested to see if Lincoln Riley can earn that money this weekend.
Somewhere Oklahoma fans are grinding their teeth. But let's move to the second slate. And of course, we have two titanic matchups at night. We're talking about Penn State, Oregon, and Alabama, Georgia. But this 3:30 slot, Roy, I mean, just huge matchups just across the board. Ohio State traveling to Purple Rain in Washington. LSU at Oxford and Ole Miss. Auburn going to Kyle Field and College Station. Indiana, Iowa. Going to be a tough. We just sang Indiana's praises. How did they bounce back after that absolute shellacking they gave Illinois last week? And then not quite the 3:30, but Tennessee 0-1 in the SEC at Mississippi State, who's 4-0. It'll be their first conference game. I know Tennessee's favored by a little bit more than a touchdown, but still, all four of these games right here, to me, are huge. Let's start with Ohio State. The AP, the inferior poll, has the Buckeyes ranked number 1. What do you think about them going to Washington? I think it's going to be a raucous crowd. I don't know what the weather's going to be like. I haven't checked the weather yet. I know sometimes you get those Pacific Northwest games, nothing but rain and gray clouds and wind and sleet. It's probably a little early in the year for sleet, but Julian Sayin, quarterback of Buckeyes, hasn't. They have the big win versus Texas, yes, to start the year. That was really their only win of significance. They handled Ohio at home, but now his first true road test. Ohio State really has taken a step back in the running game. I think that's obvious. Quinshon Judkins and Travion Henderson are gone. And if you turn them one-dimensional and let the Huskies defensive ends pin their ears back to come after saying, I'm not betting my life on a Buckeyes victory here.
Yeah, one of the craziest stats you'll hear. I mean, Sayin has 15 incompletions on the season, and this is game number 4. So they are kind of keeping the training wheels on him, per se. Little dink and dunks. With that said, you only have 315 receiving yards for Smith on the Ohio State side as their leader, but you haven't had that kind of, spark. I believe Ohio State does take some of the training wheels off. I think you're going to see a few mistakes, but they're going to continue to push the ball down the field. And I think Ohio State makes a statement win at Washington this weekend. Spread up and up at 13.5. It's gotten steamed down to 9.5 right now. Your over-unders, quote unquote, only 52 or 51.5. I do like the Buckeyes though to make a statement here. If you look at Washington, they're really, again, not their fault, but they played Colorado State. Only won by 17.
Not the most impressive performance of the year.
Right. Washington State last week, you got, 5 touchdown win, but still Washington State, Washington, Apple Cup. But Ohio State did not look good against Texas, and Texas has not looked that great either. So I think you're going to get a Buckeyes team that, makes a statement, as they potentially could have looked at a poll online that put them at number 2, and that could be the motivational factor.
We do serve as motivation to quite a bit of people around the country, including, of course, your Ohio State Buckeyes.
Yes.
I'm going to disagree with you here. I think I'm going to go Washington, but I'm tentative. Let me tell you why. As you alluded to, opened up 13.5, got steamed all the way down to 7.5, actually.
Right.
That clearly is sharp money. There's been some buyback, hoping probably for a double payout, your specialty, with maybe a sprinkle of a triple payout. I guess that'd be your double specialty, oddly enough. But an 8 or 9 point victory is probably what we're looking at. I'm going to, again, I just don't know what to expect. So I'm going to lean Washington with the points. I wouldn't, flip off a house if the Huskies somehow pulled the victory. But I always worry about if the public starts, and we've seen a little bit of this on Twitter, the public starts backing an underdog. That's the kiss of death. So I'm leaning Huskies. I'll probably stay away. But bouncing to the next game, I like Ole Miss -1.5 versus LSU. Ole Miss quarterback Trinidad Chambliss, maybe the best name in college football, gets his start. A 0-star recruit, same number of stars that you and I got when we were being recruited.
Yeah.
And hey, why don't we just start out with a top 4 team in the country? Go get them, Chambliss.
Well, I had the privilege of going to Oxford last year to the Ole Miss Georgia game, being a part of that raucous crowd, pulled the upset, basically dominated the game the whole game. It was a rainy mess, but it was awesome. Uh, Amazing tailgate scene, one of the best in the country, if not the best in the country.
Yep.
That they love their Ole Miss Rebels there. So the crowd, and this is a rival, coming to Oxford. So you're gonna have the crowd's gonna be crazy. They're gonna be going. Weather's perfect. There's no cloud in the sky. So with that being said, he is an unproven starting quarterback here, going up a very good LSU defense, very good LSU team. Obviously, it's gonna be close. I would like to say Ole Miss gets it done, but my heart says I think LSU squeaks out a heartbreaker. For the Rebels, though, you win this game, you are 3-0 in SEC play.
Yeah, huge.
I mean, you still do have, your big hitters later down the road, but yeah, you're 3-0, feeling good with your backup quarterback. Yeah, with your backup quarterback. The hype in Simmons, he was a baseball star, football star, Jameis Winston type comparisons a bit. Unfortunately, he's gotten hurt, so you're if you can just hold the fort here, big time deal. 57.5 on the line. I love the under here.
Yeah.
I mean, it does seem obnoxiously high, so it's probably going to be like 80, but I do like the under.
I have 58 at halftime, yes.
I don't think Lane Kiffin's going to go speed. I think he's going to run the ball, run the ball, and try and slow it down to kind of limit LSU's possessions.
Zag
whatever
big, classic Kiffin.
Yeah,
I mean, to your point, though. Yeah, to your point about LSU,
you can't back Ole Miss on the spread though because of Kiffin.
You're speaking from direct experience.
Yes.
To your point, though, LSU, I feel like, obviously the Clemson win at the beginning of the year has been devalued. Florida, we talked about this on the pod. If they had just had 3 interceptions versus 5, they probably win the game. Yeah. Another unimpressive victory, really, by LSU. I know they covered there, but one thing, and you kind of alluded to this, is that defense has shown up every single game. Even the games where they haven't been the greatest, the defense has come packing its lunch, ready to hit people in the mouth. Yes, I think you're gonna probably need an all-world performance for Chambliss and use his athleticism to the nth degree. But I'm gonna go with Mississippi. I am with you though. That line, the over-under seems so high. It just seems so obvious that I'm going to say under, and it'll probably be an absolute track meet. But if I just look at the lines and I think of nothing, I don't let any computation come in on, I would say that might be the bet of the week, the under. Yeah. Now, saying that, of course, makes me hesitate, and I want to go over.
Yeah.
It'll be fun to watch. I think another big, kind of off the radar, it's going to be overshadowed a little bit this week, would be the Big Ten matchup. Indiana going to Kinnick Stadium, Iowa. It doesn't matter what Iowa is. It really doesn't. When you go to Kinnick Stadium, just weird things happen. Often they take the bounce of the Hawkeyes. And the spread being 8.5, I'm sure some of that's publicly elevated from last week's shellacking that we've already mentioned a few times. Iowa plus 8.5 at home at Kinnick against a possibly unproven Indiana team. They got ahead of Illinois so fast.
Yeah.
We don't know what they're like in a grinded out victory. So 8.5 just seems too much to lay at Kinnick.
Public agrees with you. 58% of the money and 54% of the bets are on Iowa plus 8.5.
All right, I'm gonna go. This is
So
we did have a look. We had a viewer say, "What's up with me being in the timeout corner?"
yeah.
And as I've mentioned in previous pods, we are constructing the studios right now. I am in the, but since I'm going to go stand in the timeout corner because if the public's backing Iowa now I have total no confidence. There's nothing worse than a public underdog. That's betting 101. I'm going all in on Indiana 8.5.
And to the point though we had made earlier about USC, Illinois, and the shellacking that Illinois had taken, Vegas may be counting on people thinking that Indiana is more far superior. Like you said, in Kinnick, there is some wacky stuff that happens. Iowa seems to always play it tough, even if the passing yards are always in double digits. But the over
I was going to say
under
single digits, but yes, okay. We'll give them double digits. Okay.
It's an interesting over under. Given the explosiveness of Indiana's offense, you've got a 48.5 over under. And it's a little bit, I think Iowa always has a little bit higher, or sorry, a little bit lower over unders in the, high 30s,
Right.
low 40s.
Yeah.
So it may be tipping the hand there a little bit, saying we expect Indiana to show up because we put the over this high. So
yeah, Indiana. How about our friend of the pod? ? Foreshadowing ? Kurt Signetti picking up maybe the transfer portal get of the year, and former Cal QB Fernando Mendoza, one of the better names in college football. I'm going to still give the nod to Trinidad Chambliss. Now I know this. A long time Pipeline Nation people know that I'm a big music file. I love music, all types. Every time I hear Fernando, I feel like I want to go to an old vinyl store and pick up an ABBA album and throw on the song Fernando. Can you hear the drums, Fernando? Will he hear the drums in Kinnick Stadium? Great stats right now. The Heisman favorite, 975 yards, 14 touchdowns, playing magnificent. Oddly enough, he padded the stats against Illinois. I don't think we would have foreseen that. So can he do it against a normally gritty Iowa secondary and at Kinnick Stadium? So we'll see. It'll be fun.
Yeah, and for Indiana, not necessarily a terrible loss if it does go that way for them here, being on the road, coming off a big win. But I expect them to maybe come out a little bit fast, make some mistakes to start. I think they may push the gas a little bit too hard. Maybe starts a little close, but I would say Indiana then second quarter and on just kind of jumps it out and makes.
Maybe we take a peek at the first half Iowa line and go Iowa line first half, Indiana line full game. Be interesting.
Yeah.
Couple bets. Well, we alluded to it early in the pod, and two titanic matchups. Number 6 Oregon at number 3 Penn State, Beaver Stadium. Penn State minus 3.5, and of course at the same time, unfortunately at the same time, we're going to have number 17 Alabama and number 5 Georgia. Actually, we should probably start only referencing our poll. I'm talking about the AP numbers because they're just right here in front of me, but we should probably only reference the most accurate poll in the country because it is better than the AP. But one thing that I don't really like about this is, and it's hard with college football. Maybe if Josh Pate ever actually becomes the commissioner, like he says, we can remedy these sort of things. But think about the NFL and how the NFL operates. It's not going to put two titanic matchups going head to head against each other. It's cannibalism. You're eating your own ratings. So one needed to be at 3:30, one needed to be at 7:30. I think that's just obvious. And maybe bump one of those great 3:30 games up to noon. I don't know, or somewhere in between. Maybe we could do the old Chris Collinsworth suggestion of starting them like March Madness, where every 30 minutes or 45 minutes we start a new game, and we could just get endless games. And if one's bad, doesn't matter. There's a new one kicking off in like 5 minutes. But let's start at Happy Valley. Of course, James Franklin has kind of taken his lumps over the years when he doesn't really just can't seem to get by Michigan and Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
At night, as a against ranked teams, and of course this is the whiteout game, so whiteout games they have a great record. At night, ATS ranked teams, James Franklin 7-3. I think we might be a little surprised by that because we think about all the times that he's kind of come up short.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta say, if not this week, win, because you had your bye, you're at home, whiteout night, Oregon coming across the country. You're out for revenge from the Big Ten championship game. If not now, win.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, Penn State football did their traditional tweet today to make sure that everybody wears white and said whites only. So
I saw that. That had to be AI generated. I'm just going to assume it's AI generated so I can carry on normal with life.
So, the first, maybe that was the mistake Penn State needed to just get out of their system, and now we're off to the running. So, the whites only tweet could come back as a rallying cry to change Penn State's misfortunes in big games. However, last year in the playoffs, I think they erased some of those doubts. They, obviously made it to the semifinal. They were close.
I think you and I disagree here. I think you and I disagree because if they beat Notre Dame, then I think I would be on that. But beating Boise State, who I think was like slightly overrated. I know they made the playoffs fair and square. That's fine. That's not the hang your hat victory that beating Notre Dame would have been. But if Dante Moore truly is, and he has a chance, and I mentioned this. I was on the radio yesterday, and I mentioned this. He has a chance, comes in, handles Penn State to rocket up the NFL draft charts with a big performance against the Nittany Lions.
Yeah. I would say, oddly enough, all the pressure is on Penn State, even though they are the home team.
I think so, too. I think Oregon's playing with house money here.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad loss for Oregon if they keep it close. Think of, Ohio State at Oregon last year, the infamous slide. Mm-hmm. So the pressure is on Penn State. However, losing to the number 6 team in the country is still not the worst thing, but you're battling some demons that may not necessarily matter at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So to me, it's up to bottom line. Penn State's quarterback's got to show up. I mean, he is not so far, and Drew Aller, and he's got to show up. He's got to prove, especially given the success of his backup. He needs to have a statement game. So again, all the pressure on Penn State. They pushed the line to 3.5 for Penn State. To me,
does the hook save us here? Do we go Ducks in the hook?
I think you go Ducks. I gotta believe that the public may back Penn State because of the whites only tweet, but I just wonder if it's a skip for me. It's too good of a game to have some sort of economic stake in it. So to me, it's a skip. I like Oregon to cover. I like Penn State to win in a sloppy game. I don't think it's going to be very, very entertaining, to be honest. I think it's going to be filled with mistakes and not going to do the high. I think the game of the day does not reside in Beaver Stadium.
I'm going to say, I'll say maybe a 24-21 type game, like a low scoring game, relatively speaking, of course, as you mentioned. Maybe the hook saves you. I'm with you. It's a skip overall because I just want to enjoy the game. Hopefully we do get a good one. Hopefully we get one similar to that aforementioned Ohio State Oregon game last year. That was an absolute barn burner.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Well, let's go to Sanford Stadium, Athens, Georgia, Alabama, Georgia. This has it's kind of a strange game in that both sides seemingly have a lot of pressure. This isn't, we mentioned the Oregon Penn State and how really the pressure kind of resides on Penn State, if nothing else, from just a perception standpoint.
Right.
But Kalen DeBoer for Alabama, not great away from home. I know they beat Georgia last year, but it was a game in which they came out like gangbusters and then had to actually come from behind in the fourth quarter because the Bulldogs clawed their way all the way back.
Number 2 game of the year,
yeah,
last year.
Yeah, I think it was. It was a lot of great games, of course, as always with college football. But I'm agree with you on that.
But it's my number 2 for last year. My number 1 is Arizona State, Texas playoff game.
Yeah. So how about number 1 regular season? Yeah,
number 1 regular season game. Yes.
Yeah. So back to this game. As you know, Georgia, my preseason pick to win it all. Love Gunnar Stockton. I said that from the get-go. His Heisman odds are shrinking by the day. Mm-hmm. Georgia has, to me, the biggest win of the year on the road at Tennessee. That's the game of the year so far this year. And just the way they kind of got punched in the mouth and just kept coming back. I'm going to say something that Alabama fans, when they hear this, I'm probably going to have to relocate to an undisclosed bunker. But Georgia is kind of, and a lot of, listen, a lot of this is going to depend on what happens on Saturday night. But Georgia's kind of starting to remind me of the Alabama teams from the teens. And this is why. And that Tennessee game kind of highlights this. One, they can beat you when they don't play their best. Mm-hmm. They can just kind of grind it out. And, of course, I'm not saying Georgia is equitable to them yet. And I'm not saying their defense, I'm totally sold on their defense yet. But then, two, you got to kill them like 3 times before you actually get the victory. You know, it's like you can even think of it as like if you wanted to go in the pros, like the Patriot teams when they were at the peak of their powers. They were just never out of. They were going to claw. They were never going to give up. They were never going to let off the gas. They were coming no matter what the lead is, no matter how insurmountable. Kind of starting to remind me of that a little bit. But Kirby has had a lot of trouble with Alabama. I think he's 1-6 versus the Tide. So pressure on DeBoer to go on the road and get a victory against it'd be a huge victory. Obviously at night at Sanford Stadium. Line only 2.5. So Vegas showing some respect to the Tide there. Georgia kind of under pressure specifically for Kirby to get the victory over Alabama because think about this. If they lose, they lost last year, right? They lost last year that we just mentioned, Kalen DeBoer. If they lose again, then it's no longer a Nick Saban thing. It's a Alabama thing. It's just even worse. And then it becomes a monkey that's on your back. And then you're going to have to always deal with those questions until you can shed that monkey. So I think this might be the game of the day. We'll see. Obviously, I haven't mentioned Bowling Green at Ohio, but I think that goes without saying. But Alabama plus 2.5, Georgia minus 2.5, total 54.5. What do you think the key to this one is?
Well, I think the key for me is if Alabama can throw the ball because you're going to have trouble running it. The big thing with that Tennessee game, they were able to spread out Georgia. They were able to hit some big plays early, punch Georgia right in the mouth. Yep. A lot of wide receivers running free on that Georgia defense in the first half. They obviously tightened it up. Tennessee kind of quick 3 and outs. So, which led them back in the game in the second half with Georgia. But my key here is if Alabama can move the ball and get those chunk plays. Running against this defense is just proven to be too difficult. You're not going to grind out Georgia. You're not going to out physical Georgia right now, even as Alabama. So you need your stud wide receiver to step up. He needs to make plays. You need to get him the ball in space. To me, there is a lot of pressure, just psyche on Alabama's coach, but I don't know if there's that much pressure on Alabama's team. Why I
Mm.
say that is you laid an egg to start the season, but every week, especially if Florida State shows up against Virginia again, and then obviously next week against Miami preview,
Mhm.
the loss doesn't look as bad each
Right.
week.
That's
You
true.
win this game at Georgia, all of a sudden it's like, well, we lost on the road to a top 10 team, and we went on the road and beat a top 5 team. So I think Alabama has a little bit of house money to play with here. Whereas
Mm.
Georgia, if you lose to this Alabama team, like you said, it's a mystique thing.
Yeah.
Are we hearing go? Are we chasing ghosts? Are we seeing ghosts? Right? Is it something there that we can't get past? I mean, last year's game was absolutely amazing, but I mean, Alabama was very much in control. Completely different team this year, but Georgia had to scratch and claw like they did against Tennessee. So my key to the game: Alabama's got to throw the ball. They got to get some yards. They got to keep
Mm.
Georgia from just pounding them down. Because one thing FSU was able to do, unfortunately for Alabama, is run the ball.
Mm.
Georgia can historically run the ball. They've had some trouble this year getting it going, but you don't want this to be the game that Georgia's wakes up their running game, because Alabama's run defense has been not very good.
Mhm.
But talk about seeing ghosts chasing ghosts. I mean, Gus Malzahn has had very much success against Alabama's defense. So
Mhm.
Florida State did game plan very well for them. Georgia has been the opposite. They just can't game plan very well for Bama.
Right.
So it's a good game. Obviously, it's a skip for me. The line is too close. The total is right in line with
Mm.
what I think it would be. You got 57% of the money on Bama, 48% of the bets on Bama at plus 2.5. I think that's just more casual hobby betting than anything. I don't think there's any sort of edge in this game.
To be had,
Um,
yeah.
you just enjoy it and you prep for the Mormons that hit at 10:15 that night.
Yeah, Ty Simpson's been great for Alabama. Of
Yeah,
course, Bernard and Williams on the outside. Georgia did get kind of, as you said, punched in the mouth, and they kind of got caught flat-footed. They were
yeah,
just behind, blink of an eye, they're behind by a ton at Tennessee. Vols fans going crazy. Night game at Sanford Stadium, it'll be interesting. That I feel like the 2.5, they're just begging you to take Georgia. I don't know. You mentioned a little bit slightly higher on Alabama at plus 2.5, but Georgia, if they can win this game, they're 2-0 in the SEC, so bodes well for them. But Kirby needs to kind of win this game to get that monkey off his back, or it just grows into a gorilla. So
yeah.
let's close up with your favorite game of the week: the Fighting Mormons at Colorado. It's I don't know what the nickname would be. We need a Catholics versus convicts type nickname here for
Mm,
for this game.
yeah, I
We'll
mean,
have to get Pipeline stats and info on
yeah,
that
we'll
so
have
we
to
can come
get
up with
that one
something.
on. Yeah,
Right.
I mean, the soaking bowl. So we've got the
Oh,
we've
the censors just cut our feed, dude.
yeah,
No one's left in the audience. The censors cut our feed. But
yeah, it's
BYU
because they
minus
fight.
6.5, their first Big 12 game, going to Colorado. Elevation probably doesn't really matter because BYU plays in a higher elevation as well. But so far, the Buffs unable to kind of settle on a quarterback. They're kind of vacillating back and forth between Salter and Staub, but do they kind of settle down here? It's not even a touchdown. I think the public would probably be willing to lay the 6.5 for BYU, and maybe I don't trust Colorado at all. I haven't trusted Colorado since Deion's gotten there. He burned me the first year. He did not burn me last year. Now I don't know. It'd be a tough time for me to back the Buffs, but maybe that's exactly what Vegas wants.
Yeah, here's the deal. right? So you got Colorado. They've given up 20 to Wyoming, 20 to Houston, 7 to Delaware, and 20 to Georgia Tech. So the Georgia Tech, sorry, 27 to Georgia Tech. Sorry, 36 to Houston. I apologize. They they have not been able to stop anybody, as everybody can
Hmm.
follow that very clear path that I laid out for you.
Yes.
The deal with BYU here is they've allowed 16 points all season. Now, they haven't played they played Stanford, they played ECU, who didn't look terrible against Army last night. So you've got this kind of defense that has shown up on the stats. I personally believe that BYU just grounds them out. They win by
Hmm.
3 touchdowns. I think they get it done. I don't see this is the opener for the Big 12 for BYU. They've
Hmm.
got an opportunity to set the tone here. You know, Texas Tech had a big win last week at Utah, kind of surprised everybody. I think you're going to see a similar kind of BYU stepping up and kind of flexing their moxie here.
So Texas Tech really kind of took control of the Big 12, even though we're very early in the season. As far as like the perception, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they're going anywhere. For BYU to go on the road here and lose this Big 12 game, that would not bode well. I'm not saying they couldn't overcome it, and we could just say, well, they're only 0-1 in the Big 12. But perception wise, it's just going to be a much tougher hill to climb. I'm with you. BYU, I can't see them not covering here. And the
Yeah.
total only 49.5. Interesting. As you said, Buffalo can't really stop anyone of note. BYU stopping everyone. Are we just kind of having that and then we get a total in the middle around 49.5? Maybe I go over. I love going against the public here, but or in general, but I just don't know. If it's over, then Buffalo has. I'm sorry, the Buffaloes has done better than I thought. If it's under, it's a BYU blowout.
That's about as accurate as I could say it. I do have a bad beat story. Um, as
This is what we
always, we
live
are
for, by
now.
the way.
This is 4 weeks in a row. So your boy had had Auburn um,
Oh
plus.
man,
So there was some boost bets on my book, so I took
you're
advantage
right.
of it. I was really excited. All right, so here we go.
Mm-hmm.
So they had an Oklahoma, or so they had an Auburn plus 6.5 boost. So they boosted the odds from minus 110 to plus 150. I was like, cool, awesome. So put my max bet on that, and then I went to Oklahoma minus 3.5
Okay.
and max bet on that. So
Oh
basically,
man,
I was guaranteed to win. Um, I was either going to win
something.
$4 or I was going to double pay. So it was $4 or both win. I could have hedged it, steamed it up where I could have guaranteed myself like $15, but I was like, you know what? Or it was like $4 or like $240. I was like, either way I win. I'm excited. So as we know, um, Auburn has the ball late in the game with a chance here. Um, and they start at their own 25. The only thing that can kill me is some random nonsense. I believe Auburn at the spot was they were down 6. If I remember correctly, they were down 6. Oh yes, no, they were down 5. They were down 5.
No, it was a 5 point game. Yep,
It was a
22 to
5 point game.
17.
Prior to Oklahoma had scored a touchdown to take that lead,
Right,
and then decided to go for 2,
correctly, and they missed
which
it. So you're
which
golden.
I was pissed about. I was mad that they even attempted the 2-point conversion, even though it makes complete football sense. It did not make sense for me. So they
Personally,
do this personally. So they do this. I survive. I'm golden, man. It's like
golden.
3 minutes left, or what was it, like 2 minutes? No, it was like 2 minutes left. Um, Under the 2-minute timeout. Yeah, it was under 2-minute timeout. They kick it off, no fumble. We're good there. 20-yard line. First play, I think they get like 5 yards. So I'm like, all right, cool. Second play, sack.
Sack.
Third play, 2-yard
Sack.
sack.
Right.
However, there's a holding call. For whatever godly reason, Oklahoma accepts the holding call. Gives them an extra down to push it back more.
There's no way Venables didn't know your bet. I'm going to go to my grave thinking Venables knew your bet. He knew what he had to do. He pushed him back even closer.
Third down. I think we're at the 6 now.
Yeah. You can feel it. If you've ever bet ever had any bad beat, you can feel this bet. You can feel it coming in your bones. I wish, in fact, I wish there could be a live bad beat line, and you could have gone all in this situation.
We're gonna stream it next time. We're hopping on a stream. Subscribe to our YouTube. I'm gonna just stare at this, and you're gonna hear it in the background because we can't stream it for I'm gonna Cash Patel it.
Right.
So the third down play goes. He gets in the end zone. He gets pressured. He escapes he does a beautiful job escaping pressure, throws an incomplete pass. And I'm thinking, Lord have mercy. Fourth down, holds the ball too long, gets sacked in the end zone. Safety, brutal. 2 points. Now I've got 30 seconds to hope Auburn can tie it.
Pull an onside kick.
Something.
Onside kick, because they were going to have to onside kick the safety kick.
Right.
That was their only shot. If they were super smart, they would have done that first play, because they would have had to just or once they got backed up, just quickly take the safety. Now, I'm obviously not talking about betting reasons here, but if you did the analytical play, that was really your only shot versus going 95 or 6 yards or whatever. But I will say it was I didn't have any. I had a pick on I think it was covers. I had Auburn. It had dropped. Yeah, it dropped in the beginning of the day. It had gone from 7.5 to 7. So I got a ridiculous push. It didn't matter because this was just for a free contest. But when they kept backing up, I was like, oh, I can see what's coming. I can see it. I wish I had a live bad beat bet, and I could have gone all in that situation. But
it's 4 weeks in a row, man. I don't know. I can take another one.
The important question, though, is what did you buy at Starbucks with that $4? A croissant, hopefully.
Unfortunately, because milk is too spicy for me, I couldn't even buy Starbucks because I had to upgrade to the oat milk, and it just wouldn't cover it. So
right,
I got a cake pop out of the trash to just make myself feel something. The unfortunate side of this is we're going to try it again in week 5. I'm going to put together a massive parlay. So I'm going to throw you guys out there. We're going to put $250 on a parlay. We're going to see how this goes. I believe the best approach here is to just pick all road favorites, because that's always the smartest thing to do.
And overs, parlaying them with the overs. Yep.
Yeah. Right. I'm gonna go Florida State money line, Ohio State money line.
All right.
Indiana money line.
Okay.
Mormons to cover.
All right.
So I expect
cover. Okay, so not money line. You're going Mormons -6.5.
Mormons to cover. Yeah. So that $250. So we can play along together. It's plus 310 odds.
Okay.
So payout 250 pays out 1,000. That's what we're gonna go with. And so,
if you can hit the first 3, you can hedge the Mormons late. That's perfect.
Yeah. So that would be the goal here, of course. And then obviously, if the Mormons get a fast start, we're gonna try the double payout stuff.
Nice.
So, yeah, that's what I've got. I appreciate you having me on again this week. Enjoyed it as always.
keep getting better. Maybe at some point I won't have to stand in the what is it, the timeout corner, and we can get the construction of the studios complete. But until next time, we'll see you guys next time on the Pipeline Award-winning show.